That's what we're going to be talking about today. Where's my mobile? Yeah. No, but my vocabulary will not get there. You know I went to school at the wrong time. When we were still fighting for our birthday, so we do it more than we learned English. So I'm very good at doing, but English is still getting there. So we're going to go to the book of Matthew chapter 4, and we are going to do a bit of a study there. We are going to look at Jesus and the disciples from two angles. So the first angle is we are going to look at how Jesus leads. How Jesus leads. Because Jesus, I'm sure all of us, we understand that he was a really great and powerful leader. And the power of his leadership is not so much in the followers he had while he was still alive on earth, but it is that his mission is alive even today. There's a supernatural bit to it. And a very important part of it is supernatural, is because Jesus is the Son of God. But there is something that all of us can learn from the model of Jesus, or the model of leadership that Jesus employed. That if we use it in our families, in our lives, we will be very successful with our leadership. We won't be seasonal leaders. We won't be leaders that are only successful for a time, or we won't be leaders who are successful only when there are people who agree with us. So Jesus was successful even when they disagreed with him to the point of death. They followed him even after they had killed him. So that's how powerful he was. So we're going to look at it from a point of view of how Jesus led, but I also want you to look at it from the disciples' point of view, how they were raised to be leaders. Okay? So every time when we look at the text, we will be looking at it, we'll be looking at Jesus and how he is leading. But we are also going to put ourselves in the shoes of the disciples, because at that time they were being led. Not this being led of yours where you see a man in a suit and then you put him on Instagram and you say, Bazalwane, we are led. I'm talking about really where leadership principles are applied and people are growing from one level to the next. So let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 4 and let's start from verse 12. So if you look at verse 1 to verse 11, Jesus goes into the desert. Jesus is led there by the Holy Spirit, and when he gets there, he's tempted. He fasts for 40 days and 40 nights, and towards the end of his fast, the devil tempts him. And that's where he says, it is written, and then the fast ends. And then in my Bible, which is the New King James, when it starts, verse 12, it starts by saying, Jesus begins his Galilean ministry. Do you see that I'm trying to teach more than preach? Do you see that? Am I succeeding so far? Yes. Yeah. Okay, when I'm failing, just raise your hand so that I can go back to teaching. So the Bible here says, in my Bible, it's a heading, it says, Jesus begins his Galilean ministry. Verse 12. Now, when Jesus heard that John had been put in prison, he departed to Galilee. For those of you who have heard me preach before, you know that I generally have a bit of an issue with things like this. When you hear that your cousin is in prison, like what would other normal people do? Go and visit him in prison. Send him a letter. You know the normal thing is not Jesus. He goes to Galilee. Because it is the fact that John is in prison cannot disturb a kingdom agenda that he's here to achieve. He is here. It's time now to start his ministry. And so many of us, we fail in this area. Let me give you a brief example of something that happened to me today. I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning to cook. Because when you are at home, you're not a pastor, you are a daughter. So I woke up at home to cook because it's my father's ordination and birthday. So I've been cooking since 3 o'clock in the morning, cooking, making food, washing dishes, doing all these things. And unfortunately, the party did not start as it was supposed to start. It ended up starting, I think, at 3. But for me to be here on time, I had to leave Polokwane at 2. So I left before the party started. And when I was driving back alone, very drowsy because I did not sleep, I was asking myself, where am I going? Mantsha, where are you going? Why don't you stay here? Celebrate with your father. Be in the party. Why are you going together? Do you know those children? Who's their father? Your father is here having a party. Why are you leaving your father's party to go to preach at Kev? But when you understand what your mission on earth is, you will be very jealous with allowing earthly agendas to disturb your kingdom agenda. But when your kingdom agenda is not strong, it's very easy for you to shift and move things. So I am here because there's an agenda that God has for my life, for this generation. And this message is an important part of that agenda. Yes, it's important for me to be at my father's party. That's why I've been cooking since 3. So that by the time I leave, I can show him all the pots I cook. This one, Papa, it was cooked by me, and this one, and this one, and this one. Now that I'm leaving and going to Kev, the pots will give you company. The pots I cooked and bought yesterday. So Jesus understood something that it will be very important for you to understand. You know, I should not make examples like this because you guys will love laughing at people's misery. But I actually remember in 2013 when I was supposed to be married. When a person says supposed, it didn't happen. And when I was supposed to be married, and I just remember how on the Wednesday I found out that the man that I've introduced to my family that was coming to pay lobola, that was supposed to marry me, was not who he said he was. And on a Thursday, I ended the relationship. And on a Sunday, I was preaching. And when I was going to preach, I don't really know you are powerful, you don't get hurt. When I was, now I'm not that powerful, I didn't reach that level of power yet. When I was driving to go to preach, I remember I was on some medication called Roaccutane that makes your eyes to be painful, to sting. And you know, as I was driving to go and preach twice in Pretoria, I was actually crying on the way there. And God kept reminding me, Mantsha, you can never put a kingdom agenda on pause because your feelings are hurt. Yeah. And I was like, first of all, I need me time, I need to heal first. When I get there, I could not say, guys, please touch your hands towards the woman of God and pray for me. I'm not well. I had to go there and I had to preach the gospel, and nobody knew that I had ended an engagement, and I had to go and explain to my father why the lobola is no longer coming. And my father had been calculating since the day I told him I was getting married. Every day he was like, no, Mantsha. The thing is, when you study adverts and you have lots of properties, I think 100,000 is too little. And I'm like, Papa, this is not a business transaction. And I think he's the one that jinxed it. So Jesus, even though there was a pressing personal matter in his life, understood that his agenda went beyond what he needed to do for John the Baptist. And to be fair, even John the Baptist, when you look at him, when he was in jail, he never said, guys, why don't you ask my cousin why he's not coming to visit me? When he was in jail, he said, find out for me, is it the Messiah that we have been waiting for? So he was not even trying to find out, oh, but we are related. When I jumped at you when your mother was pregnant and you were young, he was not trying to go back to those personal things. He was speaking to kingdom issues. So many of us, we fail. Even some of the people that God brings into your life. You are a woman and God brings a man into your life, or you are a man and God brings a woman into your life for a kingdom agenda. You mistake that kingdom agenda and you think it's for romantic purposes. So many of us end up getting involved with people that we should be partnering with in the ministry. And when the relationship ends, the ministry fails, and you rob an entire generation because you could not distinguish. Because you could not distinguish between a kingdom partnership and a romantic relationship. And even when it breaks, you are crying, but deep down you know this was not the purpose of this thing. This had a higher purpose, and because of my own selfish agenda and my own selfish reasons, I hijacked a kingdom agenda for my personal purposes. So Jesus, even though he saw that, you know what, there's a personal matter that I need to attend to, he also knew that this is the time where I need to begin my ministry. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is by the sea, in the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light, and upon those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light was dawned. So one of the things that I want you to observe about Jesus, I mean, look at everything, even his birth, how even Joseph had to organize with Mary for them to move, because they were trying to save his life. You see that everything about Jesus' life is about the fulfillment of the word of God. And that's how our lives must be as well. Our lives must be centered around what God prophesied about us as his children, and us as the kingdom of God, and us as the church. So that